But I think the major conversation here is that this seems to be a critical mix-up in the conversation. Now, remember that Professor Ishaq he's defending the MDA's budget proposal for 2025. So the conversation that brought him to the National Assembly was in 2024. Take our minds back. Remember also that JAMB is one of the agencies of government that brought in a lot of revenue generated, part of the agencies that even overshot their target and has achieved quite a feat. Now, if you listen to the words of Senator Oshiomhole, there is that, accusation of you generated over 5 trillion and you used over, used a commensurate amount of it on these expenditures without getting first of all, who gave you the authorization? Why would you spend it without sending it back to the Federation account in its entirety? So these are the conversations that troubled the day, and it's quite a confusion. But you would also say that in defense of an Adams Oshiomhole, you'd say he was reading verbatim from the papers before him. Did he only mix up the reference of context in his mind? 2024 budget, 2025 budget, the conversations are not the same. But I mean, this was already raising a lot of dust. You also look into the political body language of Oshiomhole. Is it just, does he just like to raise a cry, or are they usually valid concerns that he raises?
Well, you're looking at the fact that the JAMB body has already, responded. Benjamin has spoken to the fact that in the affairs, I like to take an excerpt from him. He says it's crucial to know that what JAMB, on the prompting of the committee, presented was not the 2024 expenditure, but solely the 2025 budget proposal, which meant that claims regarding humongous spending in 2024 on meals or fumigation, security, and cleaning are totally unfounded. Now, he clarified that there was no presentation of any 2024 expenditure of 1.1 billion for feeding or 850 million for fumigation. Now, another aspect of that is that JAMB said, look, in 2024, we didn't spend even up to ₦1 million in feeding, as purported by Adams Oshiomhole and other people who are in support of that move. I think from the conversation spanning out between the leadership of JAMB and Adams Oshiomhole and the committee at the National Assembly, there's proper a misinformation or a mix-up somewhere, a misunderstanding of the statistics and the numbers that have been quoted in the 2025 preparation bill for JAMB, and of course that of 2024. I feel like all of this comes from a place of misunderstanding, and if the House committee will just tone it down a little bit and then go back to the drawing board, look critically into the 2025 budget and the 2024 budget, if there is even a need to ask questions, then they will be able to find a common ground where the issues at stake will be resolved. But then, if you're accusing, if I have to come from a different perspective, if you're accusing JAMB of spending this humongous amount of money on food, fumigation, and others, you're also going to ask the National Assembly, how much do you guys spend on food? How much do you spend on frivolities? So it's a delicate matter that needs being given priority attention and slowly being addressed, not about, I think JAMB is already beginning to have a media trial by reason of what Oshiomhole is saying, and Nigerians beginning to react. But it's also very important for us to, balance the two sides of the story.
You need to balance the two sides of the story. Now, in 2024, JAMB generated in revenue 22 billion naira and, paid in 6 billion to the federal government's coffers. Quite a number of explanations that Professor Ishaq has put. And you need to look into the times. You need to look at the dispensation and the activities of JAMB under Professor Oloyede. Has JAMB become better? Have they done well? The answer will be yes. So will this be any kind of game to also bring him into the puddle of corruption in the nation? But we have Dr. Ali Ilyas joining us from Abuja this morning, and these are part of the conversations that he will give a voice to this morning. Good to have you, Dr. Ali Ilyas. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Just before we take an excerpt out of Professor Oloyede's reaction in response to Senator Adams Oshiomole's reaction during the committee meeting, I'd like to first of all take your thought. When you read and heard about Oshiomole's reaction to that particular document, what were your thoughts? And also looking in view with all of Professor Ishaq's personality and work outputs in JAMB.
Right. I think first and foremost, it is not a bad thing to extray or to look into the activities of government-owned enterprise, because it is the responsibility of National Assembly to even carry out an oversight of this government-owned enterprise, because they are meant to generate revenue. So then talking about JAMB, you recall that it is not the same size comparing the former JAMB head compared to Professor Oloyede. However, it does not really matter that is either Oloyede or Adedibu that they are actually checkmating. So I think the only gap I could see there is that the information that is not accurate. You could see that Oshiomhole actually came out to read out some numbers, and Professor Oloyede came out and said no, they are actually not correct. And I'm happy that he came out immediately. He does not even wait for them to summon him. He actually go to the press, do press release, and actually counter that. So that's a good one. And I think in his even words, if you recall, Professor Oloyede said Adam Oshiomhole is his friend. He only wondered what happened to him. Perhaps everybody who used to have their own party. That's how I put it. That possibly Oshiomhole is having a bad day, reading out number that is not actually correct. So, but for me, I think government-owned enterprise need to be checkmated every now and then.
Okay, very, very important, cue there. It's not out of place that Adams Oshiomhole, raised concerns with regards to the numbers. We don't expect that, since Parliament is corrupt, we can just take any numbers that we get. But just like Dr. Aliyu has alluded to this morning, let's listen to Professor Ishaq Oloyede and the explanations he had to give.
If you were not there, then I think since they have promised to call me, and I hope they will give me the opportunity to explain, I will be able to explain. I will have said no comment, but that will give the impression that maybe what some of you published is correct. I want to say emphatically, without any iota of doubt, that I never presented any budget performance of 2024 before the National Assembly yesterday. I think it's a lot of misunderstanding, mix-up, and so on. But unfortunately, I was not. And again, the person talking was somebody I have a lot of respect for. I would like Comrade Oshiomhole. But I believe everybody has his own days of not getting things right. I did not talk at any time about 2024. And we did not spend any money, any humongous money on anything in 2024. Indeed, what we spent on fumigation in the whole state of the Federation, all offices in 2024, not up to 1 million. And what we budgeted for 2025 for fumigation is less than 2 million. It's 2 million. So where all these things were going to, I think there was a mix-up. Governments are not, agencies of government are not linking up properly. We are government, what they call government-owned enterprises. We were given a template. We cannot add to the template. And the template has an heading. And the heading is general services, security. I did not create the heading. But we put everything there. And we now, on the succeeding page, which he did not read, on the succeeding page, we gave the breakdown. We put asterisks, which he called attention to. But he did not go and read the other pages where we analyzed what we were doing for. For example, talking about there was this talk about 6.4 million. It's not true.
6.4
billion for it's not for training. You say local transport, and you then mention training and the other. We have 10,500 examiners and invigilators going to conduct both the mock and the UTME. Some of them stay for 10 days. I do not determine their DTA. It's the government that determines the DTA to be paid to them. So what offense have I committed in putting their claims together? And that was 3.2 billion of the 6 billion. 6.4 billion. There are other items like that. He talked about food. Everybody knows that at the JAMB headquarters, we provide one lunch for those in the headquarters. And we provide this lunch for them, partly because we don't want our system to be destroyed. We never bought any computer last year, 2024. We are projecting to buy, and it was being said that, we bought last year. Where did we buy last year? We budgeted to buy, and the process is still on. And again, JAMB CBT centers. We need 850 CBT centers. If we budget for 1 or 2 per year towards achieving that, what offense have we committed? You now talk about food.
Apart from the food.
Yeah.
Well, we see Professor Ishaq Oluyede try to break down things there and explain in context what exactly happened during that particular committee session with the appropriation committee at the National Assembly. It will be worrisome, but it's great to see that he stood by his numbers and quite an explanation. Of course, it's quite a lengthy response that he granted, and it's not something we can take in the moment. But Dr. Aliyu,
yes.
Just listening to some of the detail, I know that I particularly like somewhere in his response where he said, Professor Ishaq Oluyede, cannot be roped into, these kinds of misgivings. And it goes to speak about a man who trusts in his own reputation with the public service that he's been called to do.
Right. If you listen to Professor Ishaq Oluyede, you discover that he's a man who has the control of the budget himself. That simply means that he's in the know of what is in the budget. And if you recall, he even said that they need 850 CBT centers. So if they put 2, you recall that it's one of the government-owned enterprises that have actually generate more money, back to the federal government than most of them. You recall the person who came before him was giving back like 600 million compared to when he came and started with like 4 billion or whatever. So I think he actually know what he's doing, and like he said he's waiting for them to actually invite him to defend what he said. And this is a type of example that we actually want. But I must also say thank you to Oshiomhole. If I thought it's an error, it is always good to call them to action and to actually ask them questions. So it's not bad that Oshiomhole actually asks questions, though it may be a wrong figure.
Okay, so now part of the conversations here that this has raised is, should JAMB be taken out of the budgetary plan of the federal government because it is generating for itself a lot of money, 22 billion naira in 2024. And now Professor Oluyede has alluded to the fact that when he came on board, he himself had pushed that narrative, that conversation that JAMB should be taken out of the budgetary plan of the federal government since it is a revenue generating agency. And in part of this response, response, he has alluded to the fact that there is no place in the world that such a body is funded by government. What are your thoughts about this? Of course, he also had an explanation as to the fact that the members of the commission had explained to him at the time that what if a season comes that the agency is not able to generate as much funds, how then do they take care of the needs of payments of salaries and the rest? What are your thoughts about this?
Right. I can tell you that as it is now, it is very wrong for we to say government should allow agencies to be independent and be taken from what they have. It is a recipe for corruption. So the best thing to do is that any money you are having, remit it through CBN. If JAMB students are paid, they should pay to federal government. And when you need any budgetary money, you should budget it and let government give you. Because really you allow them to generate and spend from it, it's a problem. It will give them for corruption. Because people who have 10 billion in their disposal and they would like to spend 9 billion from it. I can also tell you from source that most people that actually work in JAMB, I can tell you most of them are complaining. They will say they are not well taken care of under this very Professor Ishaq. That's their complaint, because they believe that they are making more money and they should also enjoy more, right? So we cannot really balance that side, but the fact remains that, please, government-owned enterprise should always pay into government coffer while government will give them what they actually need.
Okay. Very strong conversation. We'll just take a wrap up from the registrar of JAMB at this point, just to wrap up this conversation, and then we push in some of the conversations that we have built with Dr. Aliyu this morning.
All right.
Wanted to. I can ask somebody to please go into the car. One of you. I think I have a detail there. Let me bring it, because I don't memorize. I can give you the details of what 6.5 billion. If I had known that I come here for a program, I would have prepared for that. But if that is brought before I left, I can tell you, out of this 6.4, 3.2 million is billion is for DTA and travel, air flights. Instead, going to Lagos now, you know how much it is. Going to Kaduna, going to all over the country from one side to the other for 10,500 people in a year. So if you have these people there, and I don't know what it has details of what it is for. We pay we say inside income, we have 10.1 billion that we are going to generate from e-facility to host our servers all over the whole country. To host the servers and run it, we 1.2 billion. 600 for the e-facilities, the cabs and all the rest. This is paid directly to the service providers. So if we are generating 10.1 from a service, and it demands to spend, we are even talking of budget. Last year we didn't spend half of that, but because of the exchange rate, we had to budget what we believe would be appropriate. So these are the issues, and when you have a situation where probably people don't understand such things, we are talking of this 6.4 billion. Part of the 6.1 billion is admission expenses, 150 million. Part of it is 600 million for registration, UTME direct entry registration, which is out the e-facility, e-registration that we are paying. The hosting is also part of it. Out of it, we give universities 750 million, which is called NATAP award. We always give it. All these are what we put together because there was nowhere to put it in the template given to us by the Ministry of Budget. So this is what we did.
Thank you, sir.
Well, quite some detailed explanation there. And just like Dr. Ali Ilyas had said, it was really powerful that he had a response just within a window of hours after this blew on. And we'll look forward to what, his defense will be if the committee grants him the opportunity to do so. But let's move on from that particular conversation this morning. But just as Dr. Ali Ilyas has alluded to this morning, it is important that we ask questions. We cannot be spending millions and billions of taxpayers' monies on, fumigation, on meals and the likes. But Dr. Ali, one question that people reacting, netizens reacting to this story is the question of feeding staff of JAMB. The question is, aren't they paid salaries? That's the question that Nigerians are asking. We know that there are corporations that pay staff but then still make available maybe a lunch pack once a day. But this is part of the questions that they're asking. Is it really out of place? And is it eating into the allocation of the agency? What are your thoughts?
Right. I took my time to actually make findings on why they are feeding them. And if you listen to the Professor Ishaq as well, he said they don't want their system to be corrupt. So that simply means that the nature of what they are doing is much more sensitive. They don't want to allow people to just go out because they want. So that means once you resume to the work in the morning, you may not likely to go out until you are closing. Right, that's what it simply means. So if that will secure, you can't do one size fits all for all agencies because they actually do different things. So if this is what they would do to make sure they have terms of hacking, to reduce level of hacking, level of easy, because I knew most of them who work there, they are always, in fact, I must tell you this, they're always scared of this Professor Ishaq, the staff, because they know he's very decisive person. He doesn't tolerate nonsense. He wants to do your job at best. If I challenge them to learn more, I can tell you people that have to find a way to learn more to make sure that they don't have a problem with Ishaq. So for me, if that is what will solve the problem, I think that will not be out of place to actually do.